This is a face for radio, first of all, so thank you for the compliment. But there was a strategy to hiding behind pictures of various rookies, honestly. But
there's no method and substance to my madness over Tyreek Smith that you just provided me with as well. So thank you very much, as he inevitably lets us down the season now for jinxing Tyreek Smith.
There's always an injury around the corner. He hasn't really stood out in camp, but I think people will look at it and say,
ladies and gentlemen, Seahawks and football fans everywhere, a very warm welcome back to the We Talk Seahawks podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you enjoyed the previous live stream that we did surrounding the
starting well here, Jim.
Starting well, we're off to a great start. I mean, it's been a while. Yeah, it was based on the training camp. We focused on the position battles and potentially players that need to have a good training camp and everything like that. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you've listened, if you haven't, please do check it out. Tonight we are back and we've got a brand new segment for you all that we're all really excited about here at the We Talk Seahawks podcast. I'm sure you're all going to love it as well. It is heavily centered around our new resident draft expert, Mitch, and he has come up with a brilliant idea of doing a rookie watch podcast. It's going to be a weekly thing. At least one of us is going to always be on with Mitch. Hopefully as many of us as we can each week will be on to discuss all things rookies. And it does what it says on the tin. We're going to go week by week, training camp week by training camp week, preseason game by preseason game, regular season by regular season game, and picking out the headlines, storylines, good things, bad things, everything that's going on in the world of our 2023 rookies that you need to know and need to be informed about. We will bring it to you on this segment. So we're all really excited about it. It's going to be some really interesting debates and some really interesting insights and looks into our rookies as we follow their journey in their first year being a Seattle Seahawk. So it's going to be really good. And with that, as obviously Josh is with me tonight as well, Pez, I must sort of declare as well that as of the time recording, he still is in Turkey getting his teeth done. I have also heard he's on a family holiday as well. Hair transplant, but I'm pretty sure he's gone for his teeth. So I'm sure he'll come back with some nice new lovely gnashes that'll put Colgate out of business. But until he gets back, it's just us lot on the pod. But he should be back very soon. But with all that being said, as it is his segment going forward, Mitch, I'm now going to hand the floor to you to begin our very first Rookie Watch episode, mate. Go for it.
Can we just, anyone who's watching?
How dare you?
So obviously Pez isn't here, and whenever we did these podcasts previously around the draft, no one could see Mitch. He was a disembodied voice, whereas now, look at that beautiful man there with his feudal samurai top knot and beard, sporting a lovely new JSN jersey.
Thank you very much.
Cool, my friend. It's all right.
This is a face for radio, first of all, so thank you for the compliment. But there was a strategy to hiding behind pictures of various rookies, honestly. But here we are, and the draft has happened, and we've got a bumper class, lots of talent in there. For everyone listening, the plan for this moving forward is going to be to do this in three sort of quick, sharp sections. We're going to look at, obviously we can't this week, but in the future we'll look at rookie performances in the previous game. In our Discord, there will be a section where members of the Discord can provide their own ratings out of 10 for each rookie. So we'll be able to give a shout out to any players that the community of want to point out as well and give kudos to, as well as us giving our own opinion. So if you want to give some feedback, you don't have to just listen to our opinion. You can have your own say on the Discord too. That's part of the plan. So section 1 is always going to be this rookie review from the game, but as we haven't got a game ready to look at, I'm going to throw it over to James and ask him the question. Who do you think is shining in camp so far? Who has stood out to you?
I mean, the obvious answer, to try not to be for not the want of being boring here, but the obvious answer for me is JSN. He, from everything that I'm hearing coming out of training camp at the minute, nobody can run with him, nobody can cover him. I think the last I heard, Kobe Bryant, I think Bob Condotta or it might have been someone else, posted that he stuck with him on a few routes. Other than that, I think the killer thing that's been coming out of training camps around JSN is how quickly and how good he is coming off his breaks at the line of scrimmage. I think he's an absolute nightmare, and he's looking an absolute nightmare. So for me, it's JSN. I would love to say Devon Witherspoon as well, but I'm hearing good things about everyone, but specifically, it feels like JSN is getting the headlines at the minute. So for me, starring above all else at the minute, I would have to say JSN.
I like it. Yeah, I think if Pez had been here, he'd have been cursing you going first, talking about JSN. To be honest,
probably would.
He'd have been straight in on JSN. Given
There's no probably about it. We know that's exactly what would happen.
But for what it's worth, I think you as well, Josh. He probably would have too, because he just is the player that looks the most NFL ready out of the whole crop. Honestly, but my opinion. But Josh, who would be? Would you agree with that? Would you have said JSN?
As a standout, yeah, 100%. You see some of the catches he's making. He's already got a chemistry with Gino. Gino's loving to throw to him. That one-handed catch in double coverage was just
the
chef's kiss.
The reach and just Velcro hand.
It was amazing. But then Devon Witherspoon, everything I'm seeing, obviously after he got his contract sorted and actually came into camp, he's just bringing so much swagger, and he is sticking to people. Obviously, we've seen some videos where people have lost him, but that's fine. He's a rookie. But every time he's making a play, he's in people's faces. He's loving competing against DK. He's just bringing that aggressive edge that our defensive backs need, especially the cornerbacks, because Tariq isn't much of a shit talker. You know, Mike Jack just goes about his business. But if you've got someone like Spoon there who's going to smash someone, get in their face, and, you know, bring a bit of the old Legion of Boom. I hate using that, by the way, the Legion of Boom thing, because it's done and dusted. But it's bringing that mentality back, which I absolutely love to see. And I can't wait to see him actually suit up on a Sunday and play an NFL game and see if he's still got it.
Yeah, there's a bit of the barking dog, isn't there, in there as well as being a bit of a hammer. And I think, as much as I'd like to think we could put him out on the perimeter and have him as a shutdown corner and a sticky cover guy, he's got more to his game than that as well. He's a real hitter. I can see him, charging into tight ends, or if I don't think we'll see running backs get free through the middle too much now with Bobby there as well and things. But should someone brave the middle of the field as a running back, you can be sure Devon Witherspoon wants to plant him into the turf. So I see what you mean. I like the idea of his presence in the middle as a physical presence and as a talker as well. And no, I love that. One guy I'm going to talk about here who, for me, I know I talked about Mike Morris before the draft, and I hyped him up as a player we'd probably pick. He hasn't really stood out in camp, but I think people will look at it and say, he's changing positions, and maybe the Seahawks are taking a bit of a gamble. I actually just think that Jaron Reed moving to nose and Mario Edwards, who was a veteran, and Draymond Jones, who was a veteran. If you were Pete Carroll and you had those three, and you had the problem you had last year, why would you bench a veteran and put a rookie in there in the start for all the starting snaps? Like if you're picking a first team D to run your drills with in camp, put your vets in, make it immediately better, give him in some snaps rotationally as the season goes on. I think you're seeing Mike Morris being allowed to learn the role slightly from the back. So I think he's probably doing really well. And every time I see him, he looks really slick, and I think he can be a real game wrecker for us. But I think we're just not seeing that at the moment because he's being held back a bit in favor of the vets.
I saw one video of him in practice where he was rushing and he was held up by, I want to say it's Phil Haynes. Oh no, it might have been Greg Ireland, and he just couldn't get past him. And that's where I thought, well, he needs to learn a bit more. But he said actively on, I think it was Corbin Smith who interviewed him, and he said, well, he's currently learning about hand placement, where to put it, how to get past these bigger interior D linemen, which he'll get there. I have complete faith in that. I think he's going to be a great prospect.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the next part of this to talk about is just any injuries to rookies, and I think the only going to flick through here. And there's McIntosh now as well, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, we basically got McIntosh and Charbonnet to talk about, but Charbonnet, I think he featured in the mock game a little bit, maybe, or did he take any? I think he did, but he was cleared. He was cleared fit for it. So the only thing we really have to talk about here is McIntosh. So I mean, you guys aware of the injury he suffered on Friday? Sprained knee, I think it was.
Sprained knee, yeah.
Knee sprain.
Yeah, I mean, do we think that's going to affect us at all going into the season? Do we expect Walker to be taking snaps first game?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? Without being a doctor, I think he will. I think he'll be okay. I don't think any of the injuries that we've seen picked up by him, McIntosh, or anything long term. For me, I think they'll be easy with them in the next few weeks of training camp, but I'd expect to see McIntosh and Walker involved in the preseason games. I don't think they're going to miss week 1. What I will say as well, I will add, I don't know if you've seen Mitch in the last sort of 20 hours or so, in the last kind of 24 hours, it's kind of coming to light that Derek Young might have a sports hernia, which is potentially going to keep him out for a couple of months, possibly. I think they're waiting to potentially MRI it and scan it. From what I understand about sports hernias, they're quite a hard sort of injury to diagnose, but I'm not sure whether it's come out of the back of the mock game or just in training camp. But from what I understand, I think there was a Field Goals article on yesterday, early morning time, for us, that there was potentially something with a sports hernia surrounding Derek Young, which potentially, as we talked about on the last live stream, throws the doors open a little bit for the receivers competing for that 4th, 5th spot, maybe.
Landers and Bobo are the two that
exactly what we said on our other pod
on the fringe. Yeah, I've not had the pleasure of listening to it yet. So, but yeah, no, I think that does leave a door open. Hopefully he's okay, but if he's not, stick him on the pup list, let him, because the thing is with that injury is it either needs to be the hernia or you need to re-strengthen that area to stop it happening. It's either going to happen or has happened and you'll need surgery, or it looks likely to happen and you have to rest and strengthen that area. So either way, I don't see a way that he gets thrown into rigorous action anyway. So he might as well be on the pup list. And he was going to be wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
He would be probably wide receiver 5 if Eskridge hadn't been, or maybe 4A, 4B.
4A, 4B.
Depending on. Yeah. So presents an opportunity, doesn't it? I don't think that'll be a fatal thing for Derek Young. It wouldn't be a cut. It would be pup list and someone who would otherwise be practice squad, start in the squad. So, for me, the McIntosh injury, I think if we do have Walker fit, and I think Charbonnet's back, it was something that the physios were able to work through rather than anything invasive. So we're looking at having 3 fit running backs at least on the roster going into game 1. So McIntosh can be, held back a bit. So I think we're good.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good on paper for me. Like I say, I don't think any of them are a long-term thing. So we'll just take it easy with them over the next few weeks and hopefully get them ready for week 1.
Yeah, good. So we can move on to say. Oh, Josh, did you have anything to say? I think we've addressed the only injuries that were there. So. Unless you know something we don't.
It's Andrew Whitaker as well, who's an undrafted free agent that we signed. He's season-ending injury, isn't
he? Yeah, that was a knee injury, wasn't it? And it was a complete rupture, I think it was as well. Meniscus.
But again,
meniscus, I can't remember.
Something like that. I don't know. I know it's season-ending. I saw that and I was like, first of all, went who, and then second of all, went, all right, okay, we've got enough cornerbacks. It don't really matter that much.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those situations, I think, where you load up on free agents and and stuff, just so that you can have enough bodies to make camp work.
Yeah.
So you can split everyone up into 4 sections of the practice field and run drills without needing first teamers to be the opposition. It gives undrafted free agents a chance to shine, obviously, but I don't think that he was a player that was likely to make the squad. Maybe practice squad at a push, but shame for him really. But I'm sure he'll be back and maybe doing something similar next year. Maybe see him back next training camp. Okay, so section 2. This is usually where we talk about any rookie standouts or underperformers. Once we're into the season, that will obviously be we'll have a better scope for who is underperforming against expectation and who is shining. We've obviously talked a little about Mike Morris. But is there anyone else for you? I mean, I don't want to dwell on negatives, but is there anyone else for you'd camp so far that you'd like to have heard more of or more about?
For me personally, it's Cameron Young, who I haven't heard enough about, the nose tackle. I think that job was fine-tuned and streamlined to be his as a rookie pick, and then Jaron Reed comes in, and that's kind of complicated it a little bit. He's got a bit of direct competition now for the nose tackle job, which I think before that he had a pretty clear run at. And I just haven't heard, like I say, this isn't to say he isn't doing well. I just haven't heard anything of him yet that he's really taken it by force. It may well be that we see that when they get to play the preseason games, and that's when we'll see Cameron Young at his best and taking the job. But I would have liked to have potentially seen a few more headlines, just because that is such an important position for us this season that we need to fix. Stopping that run, that nose tackle, it was such a problem position for us last season, and I would have hoped that I would have seen a few more headlines. But I might be wrong, and he might be doing really well, and they're just trying to keep him quiet and keep him as a bit of a gem in the rough. So we'll see. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I mean, I think we're picking Cameron Young because of a position of need. And if you look at this draft and the draft before, we moved away from picking for positions of need and just graded talent and took Seahawks style players, chip on the shoulder, big competitors. You've got to have some confidence in the player as well. But I do think they picked for need. As soon as they realized that Jaron Reed could do that role as well, and you could have a full veteran defensive line, I think he was immediately onto a loser there. But Jaron Reed is not going to be a nose tackle for us for more than 2 years. And I don't know. Carry on.
No, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say throughout a game, I don't know if he'll stay at nose either. If one of those 2 defensive ends becomes injured, but there's Miles Adams to come into the rotation, but he is not a player who'll stay on the field every down, because they'll get gassed. So you will see him come into rotation, and because that's the only position on that D line that he will play, I think you'll see him come in, Jaron Reed shift over, Jaron Reed go off, Miles Adams come on, he'll stay on, Jaron Reed will come back in, he'll go off. There will be a clear rotation. So I completely agree that we haven't heard much about him, but if you look at the 2 of them, it's both 6'3", same size arms, exactly the same, but they're within a pound of each other. One of them's 305, one of them's 306. They've got an interchangeable piece there that they can go, here is a low center of gravity, long-armed, aggressive guy that can get penetration, switch him in, switch him out, and obviously Jaron Reed can shift over as well. So I think we'll see lots of Cameron Young. Honestly, he'll get loads of chances, I think. What were you going to say, Josh? Sorry. We butted heads.
I thought it was going to be more of a situational thing. So I reckon Young's going to come in more as a run stuffer, and Reed will be in there more of a rusher. So I think it's going to be Young will come in purely on those run stuffing downs, and I think then they'll shift in. They'll let Reed come in to rush, to put pressure on the QB, because he's got experience with that as well. So it lets Young get his feet wet by just being a run stuffer. But then you also have the upside, like I said, of Reed being able to then come in and just rush, because he's a veteran in the league now. So
yeah, good. No, I like that. I like that angle as well. I think we have one thing that has developed with our D line over the last few years. I know it hasn't been a shining light in our roster, our D line. I mean, what actually? Just tell me what is the opposite of a shining light, because that's probably the good description. But one thing that has seemed to have developed really nicely is we've really got to know which players on the roster are really well suited for certain situations. Like, we know now which ends are going to be on when we're trying to stop the run. We know exactly which D line is going to be a pass rushing scenario, a third and long. You know you've got Darryl Taylor, you've got Nwosu on the other end, and you'll have your best defensive line for crushing the pocket, which is 100% going to be the three veterans. So I agree with you completely. I think you're going to see lots of that veteran front three, which might ironically mean that Cameron Young becomes a starting nose tackle, because run situation you're looking at early downs. So you might well see Cameron Young as a starter and Jaron Reed playing third and fourth, and then seconds as well. So we shall see. Josh, did you have a rookie that you're slightly disappointed with or underwhelmed with?
Derek Hall.
Okay.
Haven't heard enough about him. Everything I listen to, look out for, watch, like I haven't seen highlights of Hall at training camp. I don't know if I'm not looking in the right place. I've seen an interview with him, but he talks about his truck more than anything. But apart from that,
yeah,
I haven't.
Truck.
Yeah, I haven't seen footage of him in training camp doing what he does, which whether it's just not on tape or he's not shown up yet. They're trying to work out how they're going to squeeze him into a rotation. I don't know. I know Boye Mafe at the moment is by far and away one of the best edges that we've got in training camp. He's just getting glowing reviews from everyone. I don't know whether that's taking the shine off Hall, because it's essentially the exact same position they'll still be playing. But yeah, he's one. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed not to have heard more, but I'm not disappointed by the fact I've not heard anything, because you'd surely hear from reporters that he was looking shaky.
Yeah.
You're gonna go, actually, I've got this story for you. Let me send it.
As much as I'd like to come off the top rope with just like just a big elbow drop, and tell you I know something you don't. No, I agree. I think that we actually had a conversation about this, I think, on Discord, about the fact that because he often uses his left arm in a lot of his maneuvers, when you see him go speed to power with that big diagonal, spear, he's got such long arms, and he comes off with the left hand a lot. He'll be behind Nwosu in the rotation, and I think, much like Mike Morris, in a lot of the scenarios, he wasn't with the first sort of starting D line, which I think has taken a bit of the shine off it. If he'd have been the starting edge on that side, first question would have been, where's Nwosu? And the second question would be, is this guy really that good that he is already a starting edge in what looks like a really competitive set of edges in our squad? So I think, like Morris, I think he just hasn't been fully exposed to starting defensive snaps. He's probably again honing his skills and sharpening up in the background. He'll still be rotational. Nwosu won't play every snap, and he'll be the favourite to be on that side because of his tendency to come off that edge. So, yeah. Like I say, no crazy story about him, but I do sort of understand why he's been a bit understated so far.
I think the pre-season games, I think he'll get a good showing, which is what I'm looking forward to most. So just seeing the rookie and the sort of year two players getting a bit more game time, because I don't think they're going to. It's the same with every preseason. They're not going to roll out the veterans, are they? But the more we see of these guys, the better, because I think Hall was second round, wasn't he? Mm. So he was picked just a few picks either in front or behind Mafe, wasn't he? Sort of comparatively year on year.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? So I'm hoping that we might even see an edge in these preseason games of Hall and Mafe, which I'd be quite excited about, because for the future, that's brilliant for us. Because we said on the other pod that we did about Taylor and if he's going to stay, or this is like his contract year, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's another one for another time. The Taylor extension question. Yeah, it's a fascinating one, isn't it? I think I'm going to come on to Maffei in a minute. I don't know what you've said about Maffei in the previous pod, but I've got a lot of strong feelings about Maffei and what he can be for us this year. So, and I think that ties in quite heavily into why we've not seen or heard too much of Hall. So yeah, I think it's a good time to transition over to section 3, which is always going to be about the kick on for our year 2 players, which is often the big year for rookies where they really make their biggest leap. So we're all going to pick one. On this occasion, I'm going to go first, if that's all right with you boys.
That's absolutely fine.
Okay,
This is
so
your segment, my friend.
Well, I'm going to talk about Maffei because we've been talking about edges, and Maffei for me is going to be the absolute key to us stopping the run this year. Darrell Taylor's established himself as the pass rush on the left. I think in pass rushing situations, it's a madness to not have him at this stage of his rookie career. 9.5 sacks last year, career year. He's got all the motivation in the world. That's his specialist area. Stick him on the edge in passing scenarios. When it's not, and you want to keep the other team to third and long scenarios, a run stuffing edge like Maffei was last year, because he went under the radar a little bit because he didn't make many splashy plays. But I feel like they cottoned on very quickly last year that he was our best edge at containing the run. And he was put in those situations more often than not, which meant that we kind of thought at the end of the season we haven't seen much of him. But actually, statistically, and when you look through what he actually did, he was very, very effective at stuffing the run on the edge. And if he kicks on as much as it looks like he has in training camp this year, absolutely crucial if we're going to rejuvenate that defensive line. Because if we can't set an edge, doesn't really matter how many veterans you've got on the interior. You've got to be able to contain that run, and I think he's going to be superb at it this year. Maybe still sub 5 sacks. Maybe we see 3.5, maybe 4 from him. But that we've got to remember that's not what he's for in this squad this year. I think. What do you think, James? Josh?
Board.
Yeah,
completely on board with you on that Maffei thing.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I mean, in terms of a year 2 breakout, Maffei is absolutely primed for it. I mean, I think he only had about 28 total tackles and 3 sacks last season for us, which is criminal for someone of his ability. And it feels like he is the one out of the list of second year rookies here that he's the name that leaps out when we think about who's set to break out for me. So I'm completely on board with the Maffei discussion for that.
Josh?
You want my picks?
Yeah, you go ahead with your pick. Yeah, you go next.
I'm just going to say the 2 tackles. I think they're going to make a massive leap this year. I'm going to put them both in one. Abe Lucas and Charles Cross. I thought they were good last year. I thought Lucas was outstanding. But I think this year, with a year of experience, another training camp under their belt, I think they are going to excel. With a rejuvenated interior O-line as well, I think this is going to be a fantastic season for them.
I agree. I think they're set. I think they've set a really good platform last year. I don't necessarily buy into people thinking that they're going to be perennial Pro Bowl tackles, but certainly for the capital that we put into that O-line last year, that if they can maintain that level for the rest of their Seahawks career, we'll be happy. And I think the ceiling on both players is really high. So I think there's certainly room for them to improve on that, and I won't be disappointed, like I say, if they maintain their year 1 performance across year 2. James, opinion on the tackles?
I think, in my opinion, Abraham had a better rookie season than Cross. So for me, in terms of a player that's more likely out of them two to step up, I think. I don't want to say you've seen the ceiling or anything like that of Abraham yet, but it feels like he's closer to his best than Cross is. I think Cross was exceptional in his rookie season as well, but I think the ceiling is even higher for him. I think he was still getting used to the stamina and fatigue wise, where I think Abraham just nailed it and killed it in terms of he was already stamina.
Are you intentionally using his like Sunday name? It's Abraham Lucas, Abe Lucas.
Yeah, I'm
trying
to be
Abraham.
Cool. I'm trying to be cool.
You're not trying to be cool.
I
You sound like his dad.
Abraham Lucas, then Big Luke.
Abraham had a brilliant game. It's my boy Abraham.
It's my boy Abraham, my big boy Abe. Yeah, whatever you want to call him. That's the guy on the right tackle. I think he's closer to his best than Cross, and I think I have a sneaky feeling Cross is going to be better than Abraham this season. Sure. Not to say Abraham isn't going to be bad, because he's not. He's going to be excellent as he was last season. But I think Cross is going to, he's got that first season under his belt. I think he had to adapt more to the game speed than Abraham did. Now that he's got that year under his belt and he'll have adapted better, I think you're going to see an even better Cross. What's his first name? Charles Cross.
Charles.
Okay, it's nearly my bedtime, Josh, and I haven't had a cup of tea.
It's the big boys, mate. This is my domain. This is where I know.
Yeah, so Charles Cross for me is set more than Abraham to step up in year 2 for me.
Yeah, good. Okay, and who would be your pick then, James? Which player do you think is most likely to have a year 2 breakout?
I am.
We've all missed the most obvious one.
I don't think we have, unless you're thinking of the guy I'm thinking of.
One.
I'm going to throw it out there and say Tyreek Smith.
Oh, yeah, we're on the same page there.
All right, we're on the same page then.
It's hard for him not to go down, though, from last year, is it?
No, it's hard not to go down. But you know what? I'm going to make a convincing case for Tyreek Smith here, if you don't mind. Because I'll cast your minds back to Darrell Taylor. We drafted Darrell Taylor injured, didn't play his entire rookie season. Fans were like, well, why have we taken this guy? Second round, he's injured. We're not going to see him. Rah, 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 rah. Now he's one of our best pass rushers. Everyone loves him. And the only criticism is we don't get to see more of him because he blows out at the end of the season. But if he fixes that, he's our best pass rusher, arguably. And now you go, well, that pick made a lot of sense. They were geniuses for doing that. And Tyreek Smith, granted, has struggled more with injuries than Darrell Taylor did in his college season. But in his senior season, which sort of, as I was saying, that is the season that he played the most games, which was 10. He never played more than 10 games in his college season, season by season. But that was his senior season, and his last season at Ohio State, 36 quarterback pressures in those 10 games, and 3 sacks on the season as well. But the 36 quarterback pressures in 10 games is pretty good. I know he's playing for Ohio State, but that's pretty good. And now that Alton Robinson's gone, there's another spot there potentially on the edge for a rotational guy to come in and show some worth. I don't think he's going to take over Darrell Taylor, or I don't think he's going to overtake a Draymond Jones or anything like that coming off the edge, even a Derek Hall, Boye Mafe. I don't think he's going to leap ahead of those guys in the depth chart. But what I do think Tyreek Smith can do if he stays healthy is a guy that you can bring in sub packages, or just as the rotational guy when you want to bring a guy out for a play, you want to bring Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, Darrell Taylor out for a play, get a breather, you take Tyreek Smith in. I think he's going to show that he has the ability to be a disruptive pass rusher when he's fit and on the field. I just hope, all I hope is it's not going to be another LJ Collier kind of guy where you come on, see a flash of him, and then he's thrown into the dungeon of ill health for the rest of the season. You don't see him again, and then everyone gets on the hype train again of LJ Collier the preseason, and then it repeats itself. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about him this season.
Collier now in the dungeon of the Arizona Cardinals.
He is, yeah. Serves him right. Yeah. That's what you get. So that's the only thing I'm worried about with Tyreek Smith. But I think we've got a sneakily decent player there who's a good rotational guy if we can stay healthy. So I think I'm banking on that he will, and if he does, I think he'll surprise people and kind of fit into the breakout kind of category as well as having a good season and stepping up. So yeah, I like the chances.
Yeah, I like the idea of him coming good. Obviously, I think the fact that Alton Robinson left the squad means that they've obviously made some room. He won't know there were fitness issues with Robinson, and there always have been. So they're giving Tyreek Smith a real run at that role, and I think you'll see snaps. The other thing that works out really well in Tyreek Smith's favour, and I don't know if you're aware of this, is a little college stats flex here for you boys. Statistically in the NFL, the most successful edge rushers are actually the ones that get more tackles for a loss than sacks on their record. I don't know if you both heard that before.
I haven't, but it makes sense.
And it shows an ability to get off your blocker, engage, use power, use speed, disengage, and read the play. It shows an awareness of. Some people are very good at tunnel visioning the quarterback, but the real savvy edge rushers are the ones that have their plan. It changes, the misdirections have happened, they switch, they disengage the blocker, and they get the best result possible from that play. Not, I got to the quarterback, but he's already handed it off, and there's 10 yards gone the other way. So Tyreek Smith every season in college had more tackles for a loss than sacks, which shows a real savvy with him in terms of reading the play, not being tunnel visioned and blinkered. He's got physical traits which are superb, which will translate well, and he's also got that record as well of tackles for loss exceeding his sacks in college. And then once you get to the NFL, they should flip, and you should see more sacks than TFLs. If that's just the projection that they often follow.
If the stat works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect you to both start plotting lots of different spreadsheets and for rookie contracts on premium edge rushers and what they did in college.
We don't need to. We've got you for that.
You better believe I've done it. I read it. I read that stat a few seasons ago, and ever since, when I look at edge talent, I always just have a glance at that and check what happens in year one in the NFL. And often with the guys picked in first, second round, it often correlates. So yeah, he's got everything going in his favour. I think Tyreek Smith can have a real impact, and I think he'll get his snaps to be able to do that. So that's that really. I think that's everything that we wanted to go over in this. It was never designed to be an hour-long pod. It was just it's going to be an every week just glance at what's been happening with the rookies, and obviously, as I said before, we'll tally that in with the Discord voting on player ratings as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Super.
Thank you very much for having us on, mate.
Yes, it's an exciting new segment. It's something, like I say, that we're going to be rolling out weekly and as often as we can. Whenever there's good stuff to talk about the rookies, we are going to be tuning into Rookie Watch. So I hope I've certainly learned a few things already from this first episode and taking more things into consideration than I had previously. There's now method and substance to my madness over Tyreek Smith that you just provided me with as well. So thank you very much, as he inevitably lets us down this season now for jinxing Tyreek Smith.
There's always an injury around the corner.
There's always, yeah, of course there is. But no, it's something extra to look forward to now, and it's something I hope as us as hosts and us and you lot as listeners, if you can pick up certain things from these podcasts, like looking out for Tyreek Smith tackles for loss, because you better believe in the first preseason game, if Tyreek Smith starts getting tackles for loss, there'll be a buzzer going off, there'll be alarms going off, there'll be tweets firing out from our social saying, "We told you so, we told you so." Oh, Mitch told you so. So it's hopefully going to be a valuable little resource for you as well, tracking in with our rookies and guys taking the second year leap. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we track their progress over their first rookie season. So yeah, a big thank you to Mitch for coming up with this idea and putting the spreadsheets together. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and a big thank you to you lot, as always, for tuning in with us. I think you're really going to enjoy this new segment. But for now, until next time, stay tuned in with the rookies, stay tuned in with us, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.